feeling stepping into the ring. No matter who's in front of you, no matter the conditions, no matter where you're at, one thing focused in your head.
What's up, fight fans? Welcome to my channel. This is Johnny, and in today's video we're going to be taking a closer look at the statistics that nobody talks about when mentioning this weekend's fight here in Sydney, Australia at 160 pounds between two former world champions, the Aussie Tszyu taking on the American Errol Spence Jr. Guys, before we continue, I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's been with me since day one. If you haven't already, could you please remember to hit subscribe? Could you also like this video? Down pinned in the comment section below is a link to join our world famous Johnny Says Boxing professional betting Discord. It's a couple bucks a month. You could either gain access by joining here on YouTube or through Patreon. Whichever one you choose, you become part of our professional betting academy. Click the link to find out more. This is one of those fights that has the boxing community torn. When it got announced, a lot of people were saying in the boxing forums, this wasn't actually going to go down. Somebody was going to pull out. Why are they fighting? 5 days out. It is currently Tuesday afternoon in Sydney. I know Errol landed in Australia last week. I know Tszyu and Errol are about to meet up for their media press tour in about 24 hours, and this fight is going down. I do want to remind everybody, though, there is a non-fight happening on the card. We know Jermall Charlo wasn't able to get his visa, so he is no longer fighting Cohen Muzadder. They're trying to replace Cohen with a late replacement. Stay tuned to the channel if we get any breaking news on that end. Tszyu and Errol Spence Jr. have a few parallels when we think about their careers prior to 2023. Errol prior to July, Timmy prior to October. We know the last time we saw Spence was that July 2023 battle with Terence Crawford, in which he received his first loss, a brutal stoppage loss. And we know that following October was the first fight Timmy had with Seb Fundora. Since the Seb fight, he lost two more times, once to Murtazaev and in the Fundora rematch. We can't talk about Errol Spence Jr. though without talking about the inactivity, without talking about that this fight is at 160 pounds and not 147 pounds. And both guys have gone through coaches changes. Tszyu has gone through more of them. He left his original camp, his father's camp, for a refresh start with Dr. Pedro Diaz out of South Florida. Only stuck around for a few camps, and now he is teamed up with Australian legend Jeff Fenech. Errol Spence Jr., on the other hand, we know about his longtime connection with Derek James. We know about what happened very publicly after the Terence Crawford loss, and he's going into this fight camp with the legendary Ronnie Shields. So both guys have a lot of questions about what they're going to look like. Both guys have a lot of questions surrounding game plans, and all will be known in due time. I always say, as soon as the bell rings, that ring will let us know what time it is. Right now, I do want to take a closer look at Errol Spence Jr. and see what he's been up to in his career. Errol Spence Jr. is 28-1. Of his 28 wins, 22 of them come by way of knockout. Of his one loss, he got stopped. He's not currently ranked in BoxRec's algorithm. He carries in the ring a 79% career knockout to win ratio, and he's fought a career total of 151 pro rounds. His adoring fans know him as The Truth, and the American is a 5'9" southpaw with a 72-inch reach. He lives in DeSoto, Texas, USA. We last saw him fight in 2023 against Bud, 39-0, got stopped in the 9th. Ugas, 27-4, stopped him in the 10th. DSG, 36-2, won a UD in the 12th. Sean Porter, 30-2, won a split in the 12th. Mikey Garcia, 39-0, won a UD in the 12th. When you think about Errol Spence, you can't talk about his career without talking about his storied amateur background. He turned pro after the 2012 Olympics. He was one of these guys who carried the 147-pound division on his shoulders for years. At one time, Errol Spence Jr. was in my top 5 southpaws of all time. Personally, I grew up as a kid a big Pernell Whitaker fan. As I was fighting through high school, Paulie Spadafora, the Pittsburgh Kid, due to me growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, I used to watch Spadafora fight all the time locally. And then as I got a little bit older, watching Errol go from the amateurs to the pros, a very different southpaw. When Errol was at his best, he is a marauding bully on the front foot, jab heavy, amazing body puncher, and he doesn't want to just break you down physically. He wants to break your will, and that was EJ at his best. We have to talk about a few statistics, though, when we're talking about this matchup. Obviously, the inactivity, for me, is a major issue. Watching Errol in fight week 3 years ago against Bud Crawford, I saw visible signs of degradation going into the Bud Crawford fight. You're going to hear ad nauseum. You've heard ad nauseum about the car crashes, the lifestyle-related issues, well documented. He's spoken about the battles with alcoholism. All that being said, 3 years has passed. He hasn't fought. On one side of the token, people will say, well, he's refreshed. He's recovered. He hasn't taken any damage. The other side of that token, you have to say, well, he's 36 years old. He's never fought at 160 pounds before. He looked horrible in his last fight. And even if you're the biggest diehard fans of Errol, when is the last time he really looked great? Was it in 2022, his last win 4 years ago against Ugas? He took a lot of punches in that fight. People talk about what are his best wins. A split decision against Sean Porter, unanimous decision against Danny Garcia. Those fights were 6 years ago plus. When I think about my own adoration of Errol, my favorite fight of Spence was in 2017 when he went to Sheffield, England and became a world champion by defeating their champ, Kell Brook. It was the way he did it. Took shots in that fight in typical Errol Spence fashion, take one to give one, broke Kell down and got him out of there. And at the end of the fight, when Errol got his hand raised, you could hear he had won over the Sheffield crowd. And that, in my opinion, for me, is my favorite moment of his career. That was a long time ago, guys. The Brook fight was almost 10 years ago. I don't really feel comfortable about Errol fighting. Look, I'm not his handlers. He doesn't know I exist, which is fine. I'm coming at this from a boxing fan, a kid who walked into the gym for the first time when I was 7. I've been covering the sport for decades. I'm a fan of Errol Spence. Best case scenario, he's 100% healthy. He goes in there, gives it his best, and he looks like the old Errol. We do know combat sports, though, is a young man's sport. We know that as we get older, the things that decline in terms of our skill set are our speed, timing, and reflexes. The last thing to stay is power. A lot of people are writing Errol off. We are going to get to the books, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to tell you who I'm putting my money on here in a second. But before I do that, let's take a look at Tszyu real quick. Tszyu is 27-3 of his 27 wins. 18 of them come by way of knockout. Of his 3 losses, he's been stopped twice. Out of 2,374 fighters in the world at 154, he's ranked number 6. He's fought a career total of 175 pro rounds and carries in the ring a 67% career knockout to win ratio. His adoring fans know him as the Phoenix. The 31-year-old Aussie is a 5'9" orthodox fighter with a 71-inch reach. He was born and raised and lives in Rockdale, New South Wales, Australia. We last saw him fight Dennis Nuria, 20-0, UD in the 10th. Velasquez, 18-0, UD in the 10th. Seb Fandora the second time, 22-1, stopped in the 7th. Joey Spencer, 19-1, stopped him in the 4th. Bakram Murtazaev, 22-0, he got stopped in the 3rd. The fight before that, Seb Fandora, that was the bloody mess with the cut, and that was sort of the beginning of this recent version of Tszyu. What I mean by that, a Tszyu who kind of looks lost when he's in the fight in terms of what he used to look like. This kid used to be a marauder. This kid used to have no self-doubt. Think about the Terrell Gausha fight. I was ringside to the Tony Harrison fight. He'd walk you down. He'd use his straight punches. Not a lot of head movement, not a lot of footwork, but he would use that aggressive style and volume to break you. Kind of similar to Errol Spence. They would just operate a little bit differently. Tszyu, however, is coming off some fights. He hasn't been inactive. 3 years of inactivity for me is extremely difficult to get past for a 26-year-old, let alone a 36-year-old with the baggage that Spence carries in to the ring. Tszyu, the naysayers will say, he couldn't get club-level guys out of there. No disrespect to Anthony Velasquez or Dennis Nuria, they're above club-level guys. C, B- domestic level guys. He won on points, right? He won on decision, and the naysayers will say he should have stopped these guys. What I will say and push back, I don't care at any level you're on as a pro boxer. If you're fighting undefeated guys, those are the toughest ones to get out of there. Why? Because they do not know how to lose. His last 2 opponents, Velasquez and Nuria, both undefeated, weren't the easiest fights, didn't look the best. He's had another coaching change since then. He left Dr. Pedro Diaz, who he was with in those 2 fights, and this will be his first fight with Jeff Fennick. The Tszyu at his best is a guy who's aggressive, who doesn't second guess his skills, who throws the jab. He has a good jab, doesn't use it enough, especially in this recent version, and he just has to forget about all of the trauma that had happened against Seb both times and the Murtazaev fight. Now, what will we see come fight night? What should we expect? I'm not a fortune teller. I can only tell you where I'm betting my money logically based on what I've seen my entire life growing up around boxing and what I could do my best in predicting on what's going to happen this weekend in Sydney. Before we do that, guys, I want to remind everybody I do live streams every single day. In those live streams, I take the JSB Insiders questions. On the screen, I'm showing you footage from our Discord. This past weekend was massive for us. I'm not only giving you my bets, I'm showing you my bet slips before the fights. So all of our JSB Insiders who are in the Discord get the slips. This past weekend, we hit 5 out of 6 tickets, 2 underdogs, a UFC dog, a boxing dog. Would have gone 6 out of 6 if Ruben Aguiar's fight didn't get politically, criminally DQ'd. That's a whole nother story. We're on a roll. We just hit 3 out of 3 yesterday in Japan. I do want to give a shout out to a special JSB insider. He took my bets. He parlayed all of them on the same ticket, and he won $130,000. Why I want to reference that? Because I want proof. I want footage. I want an archive of me talking about this on video. This is what we're doing in our community. It's not about you guys tailing my bets. It's about we're forming something going into a year. August 1st will be 1 year of a like-minded, well-researched boxing fanatic Discord. It's moderated. You don't have to worry about casuals. So if boxing is your favorite sport, click the link that's pinned to join. Wherever you are in the world, let's pull out our betting apps. Currently on the money line, Errol Spence Jr. is the favorite at $1.77. You put $100 on Errol, you get your money back, plus $77. Tszyu, the hometown favorite, is the underdog. Currently, he's at a plus 110. $100 gets you your money back, plus $110. What I think is going to happen is a case of degradation. I saw it against Bud, man. I know there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be commenting, I don't know shit about boxing. I get it, I understand. I was a big fan of Errol Spence. If you go back 3 years ago in the breakdown video, I told you the same thing. I was cheering for Errol, but I bet my wallet on Bud. And I'm kind of doing the same thing here. I'm not saying Tszyu's 100%. I'm not saying he's a world beater. What I am saying, though, is with the inactivity, with the trauma on his body, with the lack of experience at 160, with him being 36 years old, I think Errol is going to lose this fight. I don't know why he's taking this fight. 15 hours from home. The Tszyu family, including Costa and Nikita and Tim, are 54-0 while fighting in Australia. I think it's going to be 55-0. I smashed this bet a month ago when I got Tim at plus 135. He's down to plus 110. I can't predict that going into fight night, Tszyu will be the favorite because Errol globally has more fans. I assume there's going to be a lot of casual betting. I do want to preface, if you don't want to bet this fight, you don't have to bet this fight, right? You can just watch this as a fan. I don't want to see either guy get hurt. It'd be a crazy storybook if Errol could come out on top. If Errol goes in there in front of 22,000 screaming fans in Sydney and knocks Tim out, Jesus, you know what I mean? That's insane. That's what makes our sport the best. Fans over time, we're romantic about our favorite fighters. We want to see them pick themselves up off of the canvas. We want to see that comeback. I just don't think he'll be able to do it. I don't think this is the right opponent for him. I don't like hearing from him that he doesn't take tune-ups. That's an ego move. Not taking a tune-up and jumping right back in after all the time off, I think is not a smart business decision and not a smart health style decision. A tune-up would have been nice. I think Tszyu is going to be aggressive off jump. I think Jeff Fennick's going to have him a game plan on the front foot. Jab heavy, pressure Errol, make him uncomfortable, push Errol back. I'm taking Tim on the money line, and I think Tim stops Errol as well. Guys, in the comment section below, this is not an echo chamber. It's going to get crazy in those comment section. We'll do like we always do after the fights. We'll revisit the comments. Who's going to win, Errol or Tim? Stay tuned. So many fights this weekend. Tyson Fury, anthonyjoshua. There's an amazing Zuffa card as well. Stay tuned to the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.